Yes, thank you. And I'm happy to be with you in Foresight and Science, Technology and Innovation International Academic Conference. And today I will give you a brief about the current work for exploring future pathway for strengthening science technology collaboration between Egypt and the BRICS and future scenarios for the type of collaboration between Egypt and how to strengthen the collaboration of Egypt with the BRICS Plus country. My name is Muhammad Ramadan. I am Director of Egyptian Science, Technology, and Innovation Observatory in Academy of Scientific Research and Technology. The aim of work is aim to explore strategic pathway for strengthening Egypt collaboration with BRICS Plus, especially and focus on science and technology and innovation based on future scenario. And we aim to assess the potential opportunity and challenges and also outcomes of deepening science technology partnership to offer insight into Egypt and how to Egypt to enhance position in different type of collaboration and also to fostering sustainable development through collaboration with the BRICS plus country. Our methodology in our research depend on 4 steps. The first step is starting from literature review, and we working to make some interview with the expert, and also based on the desk research. And we also depend on the best analysis to explore the potential pathway for cooperation in STI between Egypt and BRICS. And after that, we're going to select some or identify some key drivers, maybe influence or factors on the collaboration between Egypt and the BRICS in future. And the third part of our methodology based on writing the scenario or 3 scenarios. One of them is optimistic, and second is status quo, and third one is pessimistic scenario for the collaboration between Egypt and BRICS country. Actually, during our analysis for best analysis, we covered some items for political factors and social and economic and technology factor, and we focus on political climate in Egypt and the BRICS country, and also the bilateral agreement between Egypt and BRICS country, and especially this agreement focus on science and technology. And also we covered some social factors in role of education system in supporting STI cooperation and availability of skilled labor in Egypt, and the type of curriculum and education maybe support the collaboration in the future. And we also went to the investment for research and development and the relation between GDP and economic growth and economic viability. And we ended to the readiness of infrastructure in Egypt and the innovation ecosystem, and for also the readiness for knowledge transfer and technology transfer between Egypt and BRICS country. Actually, if we're going to see the BRICS country, BRICS Plus, the BRICS Plus represent actually 46% of global population, around 4 billion people, and GDP representing 37 of global GDP. So it is a great opportunity for our cooperation together, and also our land, approximately 38 million kilometers with different cultures, and also 25 of share of global export and investment of Egypt. The BRICS country amount 891.2 million US dollar, and Egypt also export to BRICS country increased 5.3 in 22. reaching to 4.9 billions. And there is also a small collaboration, not big, but a small collaboration, but there exists collaboration between Egypt and the BRICS country in trade, and also for some import and export product. Actually, of going also to focus on global export for selection goods, like in oil and the coal and the food and the metal, ore and the critical material. You can find also their collaboration between the different country. But for example, for crude oil, you can see the main BRICS exporter, Saudi Arabia, Russia, and United Emirates. And also you can find Brazil as the main BRICS export in food, and, whether corn, soybean. And also you can there is also exit collaboration between the BRICS country. And also based on this collaboration, we trying to find the opportunity of Egypt to make collaboration or to support some collaboration. And also by focus on oil production and the consumption between BRICS country only, you can see in this slide the 42 of global production, and also 35 of global consumption between the BRICS country. And the flow for crude, BRICS crude, and for oils, the trade between the BRICS country have the large trade between this country. And also this is make some independence from US dollar economy. And also they have opportunity for change the product between a BRICS country, and also to collaboration in the future. Actually, Egypt have opportunity because Egypt is geopolitics position represent an important addition to BRICS. It is one of the most influential player in the security of two very important bodies, like Mediterranean Sea and Red Sea, and also control for Suez canals, which represent major artery for global trade and logistic. And Egypt is gateway for Middle East and Africa. And also Egypt have many bilateral agreement with the BRICS country in STI, and also large market with 1 million peoples for a wide range for goods and products, and to accept also more technology from different country. And also in many report, they have projection for the Egyptian economy, and they expected the economy of Egypt at 2050 will reach at 12 at worldwide. And also will Egypt will be seventh in 2075. And this is projection give us like flexibility when we make some prediction or foresight for the position of Egypt for collaboration between Egypt and the BRICS. And if we going to focus on the scholar output, and we make some analysis for the output of Egypt regarding to the Africa, and the Egypt can be the gateway from BRICS to collaboration with the African country. And Egypt represent Egyptian scholarly represent 23% of all rest of Africa, and they have many co-authored publication, and they may have many collaboration between Egyptian university and different also, and with the African university. And also if we focus on the type of scholarly outputs for the subject. You can, if we compare between Egypt and the BRICS Plus, you can find like some interesting area for collaboration for engineering and also for medicine and for computer. And we have further analysis for collaboration between the pioneer country, like in medicine in Russia, and also for some technology and engineering in China, and also some mathematics also in Russia. So we have matching to make like a future opportunity and the collaboration between Egypt and the BRICS Plus country. And actually, if we're going to also with the collaboration between the current collaboration between Egyptian university and different or other university in BRICS country, you can see like one for 9,000 co-authored publication between Egypt and different BRICS university, and represent 72% collaboration with BRICS only. This is the major percent with the Saudi Arabia, then China, India, United Arab Emirates, Russia, Iran, Brazil, South Africa, and Ethiopia. After that, we identified, after make like some literature review and for pastel analysis, and set some topics and elements for collaboration, we identified like 16 key drivers for the three scenario. But the top six of these drivers was were governmental support, including the policy promoting for international STI cooperation, funding for joint research and the project. And the second driver is economic investment, including high level of research and development, and also financial incentive for innovation. And the third one is technical infrastructure for the advanced technology and for readiness of infrastructure. Fourth one is education, talent and development, including skilled workforce, and also especially in STEM field. And the main also point is the private sector involvement, and we focus on the private sector, because private sector maybe support or have big support to increase the collaboration between Egypt and also the BRICS country. And the active involvement of private sector in funding or partnership and the driving for STI and STI project. And the third, the last one, I will show you the global market demand, which global demand for technology solution, and especially for some topics like in renewable energy, hydrogen energy, healthcare, and also digital energy, digital technology. And this is area also extracted from the analysis of bibliometric analysis between collaboration between Egypt and also the BRICS country. And at the end also, we have the scenario workshop between have many experts, and based on the best scenario, and we writing the three scenario. The first one is a strategic partnership, and the second one called full integration, and third one is the limited interaction. And the first one, for strategic partnership, this scenario talk about the Egypt and the BRICS established a strategic partnership. This partnership centered on collaboration in some key sectors, such renewable energy, biotechnology, artificial energy. And this is partnership is driven by mutual recognition of the importance of STI, also for sustainable, and the role of private sector recognizing the opportunity, begin to participate actively in joint venture and collaboration project, further strengthening the STI ecosystem. But the opportunity of this scenario where increasing private sector participation, leading to accelerate innovation and commercialization, and also established of for new industry, created high-skilled jobs and boosting Egypt economic development. But the risk of this scenario for difference in regulation between Egypt and also the BRICS country, and some problem regarding to intellectual property and the technology transfer uh, for the intellectual property, and also governance structure maybe slow down the progress. The second scenario calling for full integration, and this is scenario Egypt become fully integrated into BRICS science, technology, and innovation framework, engagement in multi-sector, high-level collaborative project, partnership exceed to including large scale cutting edge initiatives such as space exploration, artificial intelligence, advanced biotechnology, hydrogen technology, and other fortunate technology. And Egyptian company, and the role of private sector here is incentive to participate in BRICS, and also incentive to lead the initiative and gain access to new technology and make some collaboration or contribution between Egypt and BRICS country. And the opportunity of this scenario focused on Egyptian industry expand globally and benefits from joint venture, and also benefit from incentive for private sector and the investment from private sector, and significant economic and political benefits. But the risk focus on high investment cost. The cost may be high investment, and also the geopolitics or economic shift within BRICS could disturb cooperation or lead to challenge in sustaining long-term integration. Yes. And the third one for limited interaction, and this is the pessimistic scenario, or we consider this the worst scenario. And for Egypt and the BRICS engaged in limited collaboration project, actually the collaboration is at the level of academic and also for academic and researcher institution rather than full government backing or strategic alignment, and the involvement of government in fostering STI cooperation remain minimal, and there are no large-scale state-funded initiative aimed at advanced joint innovation project, and the collaboration occur on a small scale and led by university, and the role of private sector here, or actually the private sector have no rules in this scenario, and the university and the academic will lead the collaboration of this scenario, and also based on bilateral agreement, but just for a change researcher or some small joint project between Egypt and the BRICS country. And the opportunity also to growth in academic collaboration and mutual learning, and for researcher change, potential for future large-scale cooperation if government become more involved, or maybe sometimes the academic, or if you find like big joint project can be make encourage the government to become more involved and enhance international visibility for research institution in Egypt and the BRICS. And the risk of this scenario, inability to leverage innovation for economic growth due to limited scope of project, and long-term extinction of cooperation without stronger political and economic engagement for posts and slides. And this is my slide, and this slide is summarized the three scenarios, and summarized the type of funding for the scenario 1 and 2 and 3, from minimal to moderate to significant public-private, and also for involvement for government for scenario 1 and 2, and also for private sectors. Rules will be fully engagement in full-scale integration, and the opportunity. Each of scenario have opportunity, but actually the opportunity different from scenario and scenario, and also risk is different from scenario and scenario. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ramadan. I'm looking for questions from the audience. I cannot see questions so far. And we have one more presentation, but our speaker did not show up, unfortunately. So it was from Iran, but I don't know why he doesn't. He is not with us. So we have some time for discussion. I have a question to all speakers of today. What do you think? How science technology foresight may help to make the collaborations, research collaboration, science technology collaboration as a whole between BRICS countries be more intensive? It's my general question. Is science technology foresight an instrument which might help to increase it? Who will start?
I think that I'll just start because, as I mentioned in my presentation, Fernando Rizzo is talking. As I mentioned to you, Alexander, it seems to me that each country has its own agenda. Usually, you have the industries moving usually ahead because they are looking for their survival. You have the political aspect, which also usually move ahead. But you have in the background, and for me is very important, is what we could even talk about the science diplomacy, that the scientific sector usually can make the bridge between these countries, irrespective of all these geopolitical things. And so for me, it's usually a good way to start, at least. Of course, we already have a history of several countries where the cooperation is going on quite well. But when I think about the BRIC countries, there is a big asymmetry, as I showed in my presentation, a big asymmetry between the cooperation that goes on among different countries. And so, in my opinion, one way to start is to look at how the scientific community of these countries can start cooperating. And of course, I would always think that the presentation that Mohammed just did, which was very interesting, because there are lots of information about cooperation between countries in terms of industry, in terms of production, importation, export. So, I mean, where you have comparative points that are advantageous, they are already being taken care of. But to increase the cooperation, I think that start at least would be in science and technology, of course. And foresight, for me, is also a very important issue.
Okay, thank you, Fernando, for your contribution. Who is next? Mohammed.
Yes, actually, I am agree with Dr. Fernando. Sometimes the decision maker wanted to see the different image for collaboration in the future. And the rule of foresight is to support the decision maker for which type of collaboration they want to be going. If they want to move slowly and move only for the participating in different event, and also for moving slowly with collaboration, or they want actually collaboration between the country and want to make some benefits on future. So I think the comparison or the comparing the different scenarios of and also to preparing different scenario for decision maker to exploring the type of collaboration between different country, and also to exploring what is the BRICS in the future. If we're talking about after 10 years, what is the image for our collaboration in BRICS, and also what is the collaboration in different industry. In actually, we have collaboration between BRICS countries, but what is the vision, and what is also the future? This is the main questions. Should be work on this, and work to provide the decision maker for this is like initiatives, or to encourage the collaboration between different countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. Николай, да, пожалуйста, please. You unmuted. Звук.
Отлично. Добрый день еще раз, Сергей Ревин. Я думаю, что все-таки такой прогноз, да, на будущее, он важен, и такой научный подход, системный подход, он может быть востребован, и его как-то надо каким-то образом делать востребованным, и не только, да, государственными компаниями, но и, соответственно, частными технологическими компаниями, чтобы, да, вот эти прогнозы помогали и развиваться, и в какой-то степени направлять развитие частных инициатив, частных проектов, не только государственных, не только, я имею в виду, движение общества, но и те течения, которые существуют, да, непосредственно в самом обществе. Ну и, конечно, то, что многие из нас все практически говорят о такой кооперации, коллаборации, и прогноз, он, прежде всего, я думаю, важен для того, чтобы в конечном счете сэкономить деньги, силы и направить действительно максимум максимум идей, реализации идей, максимум сил на действительно научный прогноз такой будущего. Да.
Окей, спасибо. Thank you. Is anybody else who wants to add something? If not, probably I will add something. I think that it's very important for each of the member states of BRICS. Maxim, you wanted to say something?
My question,
please go ahead.
To Professor Rizzo, as I see, thank you.
Speak louder, please.
Слышно?
Да, сейчас слышно.
Can you hear? No.
Yes.
Слышно сейчас?
Да, слышно.
Can you hear now? Сейчас слышно меня?
Слышно хорошо. Please go ahead.
Okay. My question is to Professor Fernando Rizzo. You identified several narrow specific topics where several BRICS countries has many publications, yes? And I think that the next step to detect potential areas for collaboration is to see these topics and to analyze how many joint papers between BRICS countries in this or that area, and further see where what areas, what topics are topics where strong collaboration between BRICS countries, and where topics were very small or non-existing collaboration between BRICS countries. Did you do such analysis?
The idea which I was trying to bring was the following. here in Brazil, when we started doing this kind of semantic similarity studies, we managed to see that, like in one given university, people who were working in very similar subjects, they didn't know each other. Just in one single university, you could see people who were just, they didn't know each one, and they had the methodology, all the things that they were doing were very similar. Now, when you look at the countries, you can imagine that, first of all, you can have a strategy, as Alexander mentioned. In some cases, the country wants to move in some directions. This is one point. The other one is that you may already have groups who work in similar subjects, they don't know each other. And so the idea would be you at least would have a potential of looking at where are the groups, like the example I gave on digital technologies and agriculture, that maybe you have groups like in Russia, China, and Brazil that work in very similar areas and they don't know each other. And so the point is that you have some methodology that could help you having a strategy. You decide that this is a field that we should move together. You at least you could do this for the BRIC groups, okay, which have nowadays a very big asymmetry. So that's what they did.
Okay, yes, I understand. You detected topics where where BRICS papers have publications semantically similar.
Exactly.
And this, yes, and for STI policymakers, these areas as markers where to concentrate their efforts on strengthening scientific collaboration, for example, between Brazil and China, between Russia and India, etc. So it's markers, so it's topics where BRICS countries can collaborate.
Exactly. It's a potential. It does not, it's not mandatory that you go to this direction, but at least you have something to start with. Of course,
yes,
you
they
have
already
other
have.
areas, that you can usually promote or stimulate. But what I'm saying that at least you have some information that can be helpful.
Okay, thank you. I understand.
You are without sound, Alex.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. I wanted to maybe to focus on another issue, another dimension. We need, I guess, to develop capacities in foresight, develop methodologies, develop disseminate best practices, share best experience. Yeah, maybe to discuss with each other what might be the best approaches. Maybe to publish joint reports or joint papers. I guess all this would help a lot. We even in September we met several foresighters from some BRICS member states, and we decided to launch something like association of BRICS centers in STI Foresight. So probably we'll do something in this respect and disseminate to the relevant organization in BRICS countries, and it might be a good start for doing something jointly, because I guess of course it's very important if any of countries, BRICS countries, will do its own foresight to identify its priorities, probably even its priorities in collaboration with the other countries, and it will help to establish this collaboration in some promising areas. But on the other hand, I guess what would be really interesting to do something jointly, to identify joint areas of interest for 2 countries, for 3, for maybe for all countries. It would be very helpful, not just to rely on bibliometric analysis or semantic analysis, but also to look broader. We had a paper some few years ago about potential areas of collaboration for BRICS countries, and we analyzed there first. Of course, we made bibliometric analysis, identifying these strong areas for each of countries. But on the other hand, what we did, we analyzed policy agenda, which is important also on the one hand. On the other hand, we analyzed some policy document also related not exactly to science and technology, but broader, for broad areas. For example, if one country would like to develop energy system, we can think that probably they will need to develop their capacities in research and development in this area, for example. Or this approach we can use maybe in a broader sense jointly, not only as one country which wants to make the greatest benefit from collaboration with other countries, but probably to look broader at this approach and to identify areas which are of mutual benefit, which is also important. This is what I wanted to propose and to say here. Okay, maybe somebody would like to add something. If not, probably we'll finish at this point. Thank you very much for your contribution, for very interesting discussion, a lot of ideas, and I hope next year probably we can meet in Brazil when as Fernando proposed. And I would like to tell you that our next session will be very, very interesting. It will be about using of science fiction in Foresight. It will start in 20 minutes, in 18 minutes already, 5:20 by Moscow time. Okay, so we have a short break. I invite you to participate in the next session.
Okay, Alexander, thank you very much. I'm right now at UK, and then it's about time for me having lunch.
Okay, sorry.
It's 3 hours behind. So
lunch is important. So anyway, we'll share the presentation. So
yeah, but anyway, thank you, and I really enjoyed. And just to let you know that I will follow up on this science technology foresight that you mentioned. It's just because, as you know, we just finished a big conference. We're finishing our book to produce a strategy for the national strategy of science technology in Brazil. So we are very, very busy. That's why I didn't give you more information. Okay.
Okay. Very well. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. And I invite you to the next session in already 15 minutes.
Okay. Bye.
Okay. See you then.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. My name is Alexander Sokolov. I'm glad to see that Tom is here. Tom, hello. Good to see you. I don't see the speakers. Just a moment. Olesya is here. Yeah. Jean-Paul. Jean-Paul, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good, good. And Jose, are you with us? I saw his name.
Yes, I'm here.
Great, great. Everybody's here. So we can start then. Good afternoon in Moscow and good evening, good morning, I guess, in Americas. Yeah.
Yeah, good morning in Arizona.
Yeah. Okay. So my name is Alexander Sokolov. I'm deputy director of the Institute for Statistical Studies, Economics of Knowledge at HSE
Ya
University.
está, chao, mamá. Te veo en 2 horas. Vete a dormir.
Sorry, Jose. Jose. Okay. So, and I'm also chairholder of the UNESCO Chair on Future Studies, which we opened a couple of years ago here at HSE University. Okay, our session is very interesting for me personally because it's devoted to use of science fiction in future studies. So the session is called Science Fiction as a Tool for Future Studies. Our first presentation will be made by Jean-Paul Pinto from Ecuador, Laboratory for Imagination and Materialization of the Future. I remember Jean-Paul made the presentation 2 or 3 years ago. I don't remember exactly. At one of our conferences, it was very interesting. So we're looking for your presentation. The floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Thanks a lot, Alexander. I don't know why you can see me because I am in a university here in Ecuador, at the south of my country. I am in the city of Cuenca, which is the most beautiful city here in Ecuador. So I will share my screen so that you can see my presentation, okay?
Yes, please.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
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 Okay, perfect. Okay, so today I want to share with you some ideas about the possibility of mixing foresight and science fiction. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk with you is that why articulating science fiction and foresight? And for me, there are several reasons for that. First of all, science fiction and foresight, they both work in stories with greater impact because both of them, they work about consequence, about lack of water, about insecurity, about violence, etc. That's one reason. The other reason is that science fiction and foresight, they both work about hypotheses, conjectures, like Bertrand de Journel would say. So there are forms of problematization, both science fiction and foresight. The other thing is that science fiction and foresight are ways of alerting people that something bad can occur, that the dystopian situation can take place in reality. So they both work about alerting, warning people about different kind of subjects. The other thing about science fiction and foresight is that they both work about the same question, the what if question. Science fiction use what if questions and foresight too. The other thing that for me is important is that they prevent negative events from occurring. Science fiction works a lot about dystopian situations, and foresight did the same thing about the worst case scenario. Science fiction and foresight, they led us to think more about future and questioning the present, and they confront more human being with his responsibilities about the future and about the present. So that's some of the reasons that I found why articulating science fiction and foresight. And you have a lot of authors in different articles that they say that science fiction and foresight, they work in the same subjects, risk-free experiments, more possibilities like going to the supermarket, a form of problematization, conjectures, inspirational phenomenon, laboratory of ideas pushes to extreme, escape, breakups, prevent, alert, ethics, make people react, fragments of the future, hypotheses, conjectures. So as we can see in this case, we have a lot of authors around the world that they say that science fiction and future studies, they work in the same subjects, they have the same problems, the same methodologies uh, to alert about the future. And also, I found that, for example, PricewaterhouseCoopers in 2017, they say that we have to use more science fiction in business. And the Harvard Business Review said that CEOs have to read more about science fiction. You have a lot of companies of technology, Google, Microsoft, and Apple, that link their research teams with science fiction writers. And for example, you have the designers of the iPhone, the Kindle, that they say that they were inspired by science fiction novels. For example, the Kindle design was inspired by the novel of Neil Stephenson, The Diamond Age. You have other companies, Boeing, Nike, Ford, and Intel, that also hire people from science fiction. And the French Army has an interesting project that is called the Red Team, where you have science fiction writers that they are imagining the future of the world, of the risk, the threats for humanity. So there are different kinds of the use of science fiction in foresight. For example, you can use it for imagine the metaverse. And for that kind of purpose, you can use the novel The Snow Crash of Neil Stephenson, where the author show us an alternative reality called metaverse, a virtual world where people met, did business, and play. And in this kind of novel, you can find the benefit of the artificial intelligence. They say to us that in that kind of world, we are going to be happy. We are going to obtain the happiness that we cannot obtain in the real world. That's a possibility that we can have in the future. Other way of using science fiction and foresight is for imagine the collapse of our society, the worst case scenario. So a novel like Ready Player One will be useful to describe a violent future world with inequalities, where the state does not exist, the world appears in rains, and the poorest try to survive. So this novel is useful because we can imagine in an easy way the way that our civilization will collapse someday, maybe nearest than the year 2054. Also, science fiction, when you use science fiction in foresight, you can imagine in an easy way, for example, future wars with extreme violence. In this case, you can use, for example, the saga of Mad Max, Fury Road, a society without laws. People have beliefs in tribal ways. You have a dictator that control the water. You have limited fuels. So it's interesting because you can do foresight using this kind of science fiction novels in order to imagine that kind of violent world, violent future for humanity. That could be another possibility. You have also, for example, you are right now in Moscow, you have a war against Ukraine. And for me, it will be useful to read, for example, Philip Dick, because this kind of writer has a lot of novels about post-nuclear societies. So the question will be in this case, what if we have a society in the future, a post-nuclear society, and how to survive in that kind of society? Because in the novel of Philip Dick, Do the Androids Dreams of Electric Ships, you have a world with almost all live animals are dead. Very few natural foods. You have a replicator instead of humans, no luminosity. People try to survive, to escape to space. So when you use this kind of science fiction, it will be easy for you to imagine what could happen if one day there will be some nuclear war. That's the interest of using this kind of novel. And for example, if we think a future society where there will be a luxury communism, where people do not work anymore, where machines will do everything, it will be in control of everything, money do not exist. Uh, what would be this kind of society? So this kind of novels that the novel from Cory Doctorow, Diana Now in the Magic Kingdom, will help us to imagine this kind of future, the society where nobody works, machines do everything. So which would be this kind of society that we can have in the future, okay? And the same thing is for politics. We have some novels about science fiction, for example, Maibakh and the Culture, where you have a future society where people do not take decisions anymore. You can present some projects, initiatives, etc., but the last word will be taken by artificial intelligence. They will decide about everything. Human being will not decide anything about politics, about society in the future. So that's interesting too. So, and also I want to present very quickly different kind of novels that you can use in foresight studies for different goals. For example, if you want to prevent to alert, novels like Stand on San Silver will be grateful. For things about garbage, Wally will be interesting. For imagine and describing totalitarian societies, V for Vendetta, 1984 will be great novels too. Post-nuclear society, Blade Runner would be one option, very interesting. And if you want to think more about conjectures, about more possibility, about like a supermarket, maybe you can use other kind of novels. For example, for No Water Dune, for terraforming other planets, Ray Bradbury, Kim Stanley Robinson, Red Mars, Green Mars, Blue Mars, will be a great, very useful things. And if you want to do some foresight about education, maybe you can use other novels. Ender's Game, Diamond Age, Brave New World, and a Russian science fiction novel, We. I don't know if you know this kind of novel in Russia, in Moscow, but it's the novel We from Yevgeny Zanyatin. And if you want to work in foresight about security, you can use other novels. For example, you can use Black Mirror in Netflix, The White Bear. You can use Alter Carbon. You can use What Happened to Monday about overpopulation. The classic movie from Steven Spielberg, Minority Report. Elysium, for example, that would be the vision of Elon Musk, the future of Elon Musk in 10 or 20 years more. And I will want to present some examples of what I did in Ecuador about the use of science fiction in foresight studies. For example, in a financial company, I use with the company, I divide the employees in four groups, in four teams, and each team has a science fiction novel. Neil Stephenson, Snow Crash, Do the Androids, Ready Player One, the Time Machine. And each group will choose the novel, one of the four novels, science fiction novels, and then they create a future scenario for the company about financial services. So they choose a novel, and they present different kind of scenarios, foresight scenarios about the future of the company. So in the same way, people use costumes because we want to recreate the science fiction novel inside the company. So this is Ready Player One. And then we have another team that they use the time machine from H.G. Wells. So they prepare the machine, they create the machine, they enter to the machine, and they go to the year 2033, and then they come back to the 2023, and they told us what about the financial products that they were selling in the year 2033. So that was very interesting because they create a machine, they go to the future, they came back from the future, and they tell us different important things about what happened 10 years in 2033. And if with the army, we did the same thing. We used the novel The Battle of Dorking, an English science fiction novel. So for preparing the army for the future, for war, for threat, for risks, and so on. So, after they do the scenario, the first scenario, there is some design work, as you can see in this case. And I use also other kind of science fiction movies for doing some innovative, disrupt actions inside the university with the teachers inside the classroom. We use science fiction to prepare about changes, transformation inside the classroom in order that the teachers could make some changes inside their classes. Also in our university in ESPE, we create the project Spirity 2033. And in this kind of university, I use two kinds of novel for creating scenarios. For side scenarios, I use Brave New World, Aldous Huxley, and I use the Fahrenheit from Ray Bradbury for doing some foresight work for the university. And with my students, the Universidad, the Valley University in Cali, Colombia, in our master's degree in foresight and innovation, I asked my students to choose a science fiction novel and then to propose innovation, to propose some invention that could produce after an innovation. So at the first step, they use a science fiction novel, they read, they see the movie, and after they prepare to me, they say to me, this is an innovation that we want to send to the market to some customers. And in our university, in the spot, I create some dystopian narratives about the university in 2040, and I use in this case the Matrix. So that was another possibility. And I did in some cases in foresight work, I do some workshop about ruptures, breakups, and I use always a short science fiction novel in order that people can present impossible solution for a problem that humanity do not resolve until now. So so if you want to get more in deep with this kind of links about science fiction and foresight, I would suggest to see my articles, this one, Hybrid Process for a New Era of Strategic Foresight, and the other one, who is a case study about a university in Colombia, Universidad de la Costa, the University. When you use the Fahrenheit 451 novel from Ray Bradbury, and we create some dystopian scenarios about university using the science fiction novel from Ray Bradbury. This article is creation of dystopias as an alternative for imagining and materializing the university of the future. And I have also two science fiction novels. They are still in Spanish. I am working in the translation, but the first one is called Dialogues about the Collapse in 2042. But I think that maybe 2042 is too long for me, seeing what is going on in the Amazonia, the war, what's going on in Israel. Maybe it's not in 2042, maybe it's 2026, maybe 2027. It's nearest. And the other novel is 2050, An Adventure for Seven Possible Futures. When I was in a cafeteria here in Ecuador, and I will drink seven different plants from Amazonia, and each each plant from the Amazonia, flower from the Amazonia, they send me to a future in 2050. And I went to a future of more technology. I went to a future of or more without climate change, with more harmony with nature, and so on. So the book describes 7 different futures about what will happen at the year 2050. So that's what my presentation. I think I am on time. Thank you a lot for the invitation, for this invitation. So I will be open for any question, and thanks a lot. A great hug for Thomas Lombardo that I see right now, for Jose Cordeiro, a good friend of mine, and I hope they are well in their countries. So thank you a lot, Alexander, for the invitation again. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. By the way, give my best regards to Javier Medina, who is a good friend of mine, your co-author.
Perfect, great.
Yeah, we have a question. The question, is it better to codificate the items of future, tech, views, institution, etc., to construct or incorporate it into the foresight, or there are other ways and more rich to process literature? What's the best way to use it in practice? This is the question.
Okay, what I do is each time that I have to do some foresight work in university, in a private company, or something like that, I have to adapt the novel to the organization. Or to, for example, here I am in the south of my country, and I'm working with I'm doing some foresight about the territory. So I use novels that show cities, that show the territories without water, with violence, like cyberpunk, for example, societies with a lot of technologies, but without humanity, without any kindness, compassion. So what I did is each time that I have to work for somebody, university, company, territory, I I I I begin to see some novels, movies, and then I decide what kind of novel or movie will adapt better to my organization, private one, territory, university. So in that way, what I did is I link the characteristics of the organization, uh, financial, marketing, etc., to the context of the novel, to the context of the movie. And then I insert the company, the territory, the university to the context of the movie. And then I prepare the scenario, I build the scenario with the context of the movie, the characters of the movie, and I insert the company to that kind of context, okay? So the best thing is that you have to adapt the movie, the story, the novel, the science fiction novel, to the client, okay? And in that way, and for me, in my experience, using science fiction, it makes easier the writing of the scenario. For me, it's easier because you have a context, you have some characters, so the scenario is easy to be written, okay? And also it's easy to draw because in the same way that I write the scenarios, people that work with me, they draw the scenario. They take some a sheet of paper and they show me why they imagine that kind of dystopian future for the territory, for the university, so I can see what they have in their minds. So I asked to them to write the scenario, but also to make a drawing about the scenario too.
Okay, thank you very much, Jean-Paul. I have a question, another question, if possible. But look, we are next presentation will be about the database. We have a small project. Olesya will give you more details, and we collect kind of technological inventions of the future into a database from science fiction. And my question is about. I saw in your presentation some books which are very old. For example, the book by Zamyatin, which you mentioned here, it was written more than 100 years ago, as far as I know. And the question is, should we use the books published many years ago for the Foresight studies. I mean, in the field of technological innovation and more related to technology, new products, whatever, or not, because they might be useful when we analyze the potential changes in values, human values in the organization of society, or whatever. It might be of interest. But for technological innovation, what do you think? Should we use all the publication, or should we limit ourselves as we did by 25, 30 years ago? That's it.
Yeah, it's amazing, but as you said, the old science fiction novels from 75 years old, 100 years old, they describe situations that are happening right now. And in the question that I think that Olesya put in the chat, they asked that if there are social examples that things that they were describing science fiction some 100 years ago that they exist today, and the answer is yes. And the one example that I am thinking right now is the book from George Orwell, 1984, because when I used this book in 2018, and I was in Colombia, in Cali, and I said, "Oh my God, what the author described, what George Orwell described, was exactly was happening in Colombia in that year." Because you have to remember that in that novel, the slogans of the novel were "War is peace, ignorance is the strength," and exactly what the government in Colombia did. They were in war, and they say that the war was the only possibility to obtain the peace. And in the other way, for them, it's very important that ignorance is everywhere. They don't want that people will be well educated, go to university, to college, etc. So in Colombia, you have a lot of people that do not have the opportunity of being well educated, or being in the university. So when I was in Colombia in 2018, I said that what was written in 1948 by George Orwell was Colombia 2018. And you have and V for Vendetta is the same case, the comic about Moore, about Lois, that describe an ancient situation about the dictator. It's the same case. Right now, we have a lot of examples of dictators in some place of the world. They describe exactly what the comic and the movie describe. So the question is very interesting, because right now in reality you have examples not only of technology but also of social change, of culture, that were described in novels in about 100 years that exists today.
Okay, thank you very much. I guess at this point we can move to our next presentation, which will be made by Olesya Maibakh from HSE University, Russia. It's technology of the future in post-1990s science fiction, a case study. Okay, Olesya, the floor is yours, please.
Yeah, hello, everyone. I'm going to speak in Russian. Видите ли вы мой экран?
Да.
Да, отлично, спасибо большое. Во-первых, я очень рада выступать после Жан-Поля, потому что его выступление 2 года назад на нашей Foresight конференции — это вот один из факторов, который вдохновил нас на наше исследование. При этом, когда я говорю про наше исследование, то здесь интересно говорить не только о том, что мы уже сделали, но и о том, что еще мы не успели сделать. Потому что, конечно же, когда мы рассуждаем о том, как научная фантастика может быть полезна в Форсайте, мы видим очень много прекрасных возможностей, да, вот о которых сейчас так прекрасно рассказывал Жан-Поль. Однако понятно, что с чего-то надо начинать, да, и мы решили начать с анализа произведений, которые были написаны после 1990 года, потому что мы предполагаем, что именно в этих произведениях будут те технологии описанные, которые являются наиболее применимыми и максимально конкретными для нашего текущего будущего, да, для нашего сегодняшнего мира. Мы решили пока сфокусироваться на текстах, да, то есть мы работаем с литературой, да, то есть мы пока не смотрим фильмы, пока не смотрим сериалы, потому что тексты проще анализировать. При этом, когда мы говорим в целом про наши результаты именно этого года, мы хотим сформировать обширную базу идей того, какие технологии и продукты могут быть созданы и разработаны сегодня, которые будут востребованы широкой аудиторией. Однако мы понимаем, что одна из ценностей научной фантастики в том, что она помогает посмотреть не только какую-то идею технологии, но и посмотреть то, как применение этой технологии, да, или использование того или иного продукта влияет на общество, как именно люди пользуются, да, какие у них есть ожидания, какие потребности закрываются. И поэтому так интересно работать с текстами, потому что это дает возможность посмотреть не только на конкретную технологию, как она работает, но и то, какое место эта технология занимает в мире. И это одно из направлений нашего исследования в этом году. Да, конечно же, вот сейчас мы послушали презентацию о том, какие есть возможности использования научной фантастики. Да, в целом мы понимаем, что это интересно посмотреть и на новые какие-либо идеи, технологии, и также это помогает развивать сценарии и помогает строить целые миры. Да? И я бы еще добавила, что мне кажется, что одна из целей Foresight — это вдохновить и организовать людей на то, чтобы они вместе двигались к какому-то желаемому образу будущего. И мне кажется, что научная фантастика, да, и особенно литература, конечно, является таким прекрасным инструментом, когда человек может не просто подумать о той или иной технологии, да, или о том или ином образе будущего, но он может представить вот со всеми эмоциями, со всеми красками, а каково это жить вот в таком мире. Поэтому мне кажется, что когда мы говорим про научную фантастику, нельзя забывать о ее такой трансформирующей силе, да, то, что помогает нам вообще представить себя, наше место в том или ином будущем. Если говорить конкретнее о нашем проекте, да, соответственно, мы смотрим на год публикации, мы фокусируемся на научной фантастике, и, конечно же, мы хотим посмотреть на те произведения, которые являются наиболее влиятельными в настоящее время. Да. Мы смотрим на количество адаптаций, на то, как долго книга была бестселлером, были ли какие-либо награды, и я еще отмечу, что вот те книги, которые были упомянуты в предыдущей презентации, например, The Diamond Age, Snow Crash, Ready Player One, The Culture, это книги, которые вот мы как раз уже проанализировали и извлекли из них технологии и посмотрели, какое место эти технологии занимают в этом будущем. Соответственно, сейчас написано, что мы проанализировали 88 книг, но презентация готовилась на прошлой неделе. Мне кажется, сейчас у нас уже проанализировано 102 книги. Да, и при этом анализ той или иной книги, да, проходит через описание тех критериев, которые были на предыдущем слайде, но также мы хотим посмотреть, ну, конечно же, на синопсис, но и то, как пытаемся рассмотреть какие-то тематики, которые были представлены в книге, и мы их раскладываем с использованием классификации STPV. Да, то есть каковы были социальные аспекты, да, какие были экономические аспекты, да, потому что нам интересно посмотреть на контекст, внутри которого существует та или иная технология. Соответственно, когда мы говорим про извлечение конкретных идей технологий, да, здесь написано, что сейчас их 900. Мне кажется, что сейчас уже их больше 1000, может быть, почти 1100. Я отмечу, что мы извлекаем технологии с использованием нейросетей. Да, мы используем разные люди. Кто-то предпочитает Gemini, кто-то предпочитает ChatGPT, да, кто-то использует Open, Google AI. Да, но в целом мы понимаем, что использование нейросетей помогает нам быстрее извлекать идеи. Да? И, конечно же, мы очень аккуратно к этому подходим. У нас разработаны промпты, мы постоянно эти промпты совершенствуем, и мы аккуратно проверяем, что те технологии, которые были извлечены с помощью LLM, они действительно присутствуют в тех книгах, с которыми мы работаем. При этом, когда мы анализируем те или иные технологии, нам интересно посмотреть и на то, как эта технология описана в книге, да, в том числе, как именно пользователь использует тот или иной продукт или ту или иную технологию, какие есть технические характеристики, какой есть функционал. И, конечно же, мы описываем контекст, внутри которого существует эта технология, Но также мы понимаем, что вот эта вот база, которую мы формируем, она может стать инструментом, в ходе которого люди во время воркшопов, форсайт-сессий, мозговых штурмов которые могут использовать как какой-то подсобный материал, как что-то вдохновляющее на дальнейший запуск мозгового штурма. И поэтому мы пытаемся проанализировать эту технологию, в том числе с точки зрения того, какие могут быть потенциальные потребители, да, и смотрим, существуют ли какие-то похожие технологии, да, то есть, например, мы видим, что какие-то технологии, которые были только в 90-м году были фантастикой, сегодня они уже существуют, да, например, вот Google Translate. Соответственно, кратко скажу про то, как у нас были проанализированы с использованием классификации CPV. Мы одновременно анализировали и книги, и одновременно анализировали контекст, внутри которых именно в привязке к конкретным технологиям. И поэтому вот здесь мы можем увидеть, что именно вот таких вот политических факторов, когда мы говорим на уровне книги, гораздо больше, чем на уровне конкретной технологии, да, потому что это разные контексты. И на уровне книги такие контексты встречаются гораздо чаще. Ну и теперь я перехожу к самому, конечно же, интересному. Мы еще в процессе нашего исследования, но вот есть некоторые первые результаты, возможно, они изменятся, но хотелось бы с вами уже поделиться какими-то нашими самыми первыми находками. Соответственно, мы посмотрели на тематики, которые были представлены в книгах, с которыми мы поработали, и мы загрузили вот всю информацию, да, все вот эти вот 1000 строк мы загрузили в Gemini, по-моему, и решили посмотреть, какие есть вот наиболее часто встречающиеся факторы в разрезе разных десятилетий. Да, и вот здесь мы можем посмотреть о том, как какие-то социальные, политические и экологические аспекты, они становятся чуть меньше описываются как угрозы, как катастрофы, и все больше описываются через конкретные способы решения этих задач, этих проблем. Да, то есть мне кажется, что вот как будто бы у нас чуть-чуть меньше описания сложностей и чуть больше описания того, как с этими сложностями можно решать. Да, вот это если в целом говорить о том, какие у нас есть первые идеи о том, в чем специфика именно книг. Если говорить уже конкретнее о технологиях, да, мы решили посмотреть, какие технологии упоминаются в разные десятилетия. И я думаю, что вот здесь можно заметить, что вот фиолетовый цвет – это информационные технологии. Да, и мы можем заметить, что информационные технологии очень-очень популярны. Но вот есть одно десятилетие, в которое информационные технологии находятся на втором месте. А на первом месте находятся научные сервисы, да, профессиональные научные сервисы. И более того, вот в нулевых научные сервисы привлекают гораздо больше внимания, чем в 90-е и чем в последующие десятилетия. И знаете, сначала я посмотрела на этот вывод, и он мне показался, может быть, мы как-то не так закодировали данные, надо это перепроверить. И мы внимательно все это посмотрели, и появились такие примеры технологий о том, как проводить эксперименты в вакууме, да, или какая есть специальная аппаратура для того, чтобы эксперимент проходил вот быстрее, успешнее. И вот в целом, если посмотрим на те произведения, с которыми мы работаем, это вот интересно. То есть вот начало нового тысячелетия вот как раз вызвало большой интерес к науке, да, к образу ученого, да, и вообще к тому, какое место занимает наука в нашем мире. Да, и вот мы видим, конечно же, что 2008-2009 финансовые кризисы, и в целом в итоге уже чуть позже интерес к науке чуть-чуть уменьшился, но вот такой вот вспышка интереса к науке в начале нулевых, мне кажется, очень-очень интересной. Также мы решили посмотреть, как использование тех или иных технологий, оно оказывает позитивное или негативное влияние на существование того общества, которое описано в этой книге. Да, и вот здесь мы видим, что в целом, когда есть какая-то технология, которая представлена, например, в строительстве, то она почти всегда в большинстве случаев оказывает позитивное воздействие на мир людей, да, на мир того или иного произведения. А вот, например, специализированное производство, да, это производство, специализированная промышленность, это в основном в том числе военное оборудование здесь производится, мы видим, что вот здесь у нас есть самое большое количество именно негативного влияния на общество. Да, поэтому в целом это вот интересно, да, о том, что финансы в большинстве случаев, они оказывают нейтральное воздействие, да, то есть мы видим то, как разные отрасли оказывают разное влияние на жизнь людей и вообще на наш мир. Также мы решили проанализировать каждую из наших технологий с точки зрения того, насколько реалистично создание этой технологии в целом. Да? Соответственно, у нас появилась классификация, что это реалистичная технология, то есть что-то, что мы можем ожидать, что это появится в ближайшие 3 года. А спекулятивная технология, та появление которой можно ожидать, например, через несколько десятилетий, да, через 50, через 100 лет. И фантастические технологии, да, это то, что мы отнесли к технологиям, которые ограничены законами физики. И вот здесь я вот напомню про мой небольшой рассказ про место науки и место ученых в начале нулевых. Посмотрите, вот именно вот здесь у нас максимальное количество вот таких вот фантастических технологий. Да? Мы видим, что они занимают почти 30% больше, чем во все остальные десятилетия. А вот в целом доля именно реалистичных вот самая маленькая в сравнении с другими десятилетиями. И мне кажется, что да, это показывает, что как раз вот нулевые это было время такой вот самой безграничной фантазии, да, желание придумывать самые нереальные, самые фантастические миры из всех возможных. И вот мы видим, что в постпандемийные времена у нас как раз максимально реалистичная научная фантастика, да, когда мы говорим уже о чем-то очень конкретном, что-то, что может появиться совсем скоро, а вот количество фантастических прогнозов, ну вот совсем небольшое, чуть больше 4%. Вот этот кусочек нашего исследования, мне кажется, будет максимально интересен конкретным пользователям базы, которые смогут использовать ее в ходе своих Foresight-воркшопов. Потому что мы посмотрели, как часто упоминаются те или иные особенности технологий, которые могут быть важны для пользователей. И, например, когда мы взглянули на пользовательский опыт, мы увидели, что очень важно, чтобы технология, чтобы продукт были автономными. Да, и что вот автономность это вот более важно, чем, например, чтобы это было вот приятный, что это был приятный на ощупь продукт, да, или чтобы это была возможность управлять каким-то продуктом с помощью голоса. Но и также, когда мы смотрим на функциональность, да, мы видим, что здесь есть что-то про разные отрасли, но также мы видим, что, вот, например, в целом безопасность играет очень важную роль, да, что вот в целом вот сейчас это занимает первое место среди всех возможных функциональных особенностей технологий, с которыми мы работаем. И давайте я кратко приведу какие-то примеры технологий, которые мы извезли, которые мы изучили, да, например, из книги Ready Player 2. Мы посмотрели, например, того, как социальные сети могут использовать искусственный интеллект для того, чтобы в процессе общения удалять все эмоции, которыми люди не хотели бы на самом деле поделиться. Да, и то есть это вот в целом технология, которая позволяет быть таким вот максимально нейтральным. Да, и я могу представить, что, возможно, в рабочей коммуникации вот такая технология может быть очень-очень полезна, да, для того, чтобы люди были менее эмоциональные, может быть, менее агрессивные, а максимально конструктивными. Да, и я отмечу, что вот те визуализации, которые мы здесь используем, они были сгенерированы с помощью искусственного интеллекта сервиса под названием DALL-E. Соответственно, здесь мы смотрим на идею того, как роботы могут самовоспроизводиться, используя природные ресурсы на каких-то объектах, да, может быть, на астероидах, может быть, на спутниках или на планетах, но в итоге это что-то, что позволит технологиям вот это вот поддерживаться и развиваться, может быть, какие-то колонии на других объектах без участия человека. Ну и также важную роль играет медицина, да, мы поработали с большим количеством технологий, которые описывают именно важность медицины и здоровья. И вот этот вот кусочек, который мы решили здесь привести, он кажется интересным не только про то, что это про то, как здоровье человека может поддерживаться, да, что могут выращиваться новые органы, да, что может быть замедляться процесс старения. Вот здесь интересный кусочек, который показывает о том, что же является наиболее важным для людей с точки зрения улучшения их способностей. Да? И мы здесь видим, что герой рассуждает о том, что сила, интеллект, они менее важны, чем способность получать удовольствие. Да, получается, что здесь люди выбирают некоторые девайсы и особенности тела, которые помогают человеку именно вот получать более яркое удовольствие от жизни. В целом, вот то, что я вам сейчас рассказала, это только вот тот кусочек, да, это вот, конечно же, мы в самом начале пути, да, и что еще мы хотим сделать? Конечно же, мы хотим собрать побольше данных, мы хотим отобрать самые-самые интересные технологии, сформировать их в базу данных, которые мы сможем делиться с людьми, которые проводят форсайт-сессии и мозговые штурмы. Также мы хотим посмотреть подробнее на то, какие технологии сбылись в реальном мире, и чисто теоретически, возможно, мы сможем использовать машинное обучение для того, чтобы предсказывать, какие технологии из тех, кто еще сегодня не сбылись, возможно, сбудутся в ближайшие десятилетия. Конечно же, мы хотели бы подготовить несколько научных статей, и есть еще несколько вопросов, над которыми мы все еще рассуждаем, например, над тем, как именно оценить вероятность наступления реализации той или иной технологии, да, можем ли мы их, как мы их можем отнести к джокерам, к wildcards. Это вот основные вопросы, с которыми мы сейчас работаем. Да, у нас есть обширная команда, которая участвует в этом проекте. Я всем очень-очень благодарна за помощь. Вот, спасибо вам большое за внимание. С радостью отвечу на ваши вопросы.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. I guess it was rather interesting. Any questions from the audience? Don't see questions yet. Okay, probably we can ask questions in the end of the sessions when we will be
Ну,
discussing.
если удобно, может быть, мы зададим вопрос сейчас, пока девушки еще с нами.
Yes, please. А кто хочет? Я не вижу просто.
I would like to get a copy of that, a printed copy, a text of the presentation. There was a lot of interesting information in there.
I guess we can share it. Yeah, sure, in the future.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't see any questions so far. If anybody can,
Можно задать другой
We
вопрос.
have
Alex
one.
Ria, да, yes, please. Alex Ria, I don't know the real name.
RIA means Russian Engineering Academy.
Okay, good. Please go ahead.
For English-speaking participants to understand. Вопрос, конечно, мы хотим сформулировать для нашей русской аудитории. Вот вы проанализировали книги, и коллега предыдущий тоже нам выступал, как бы показал некоторые книги, я на них посмотрел, так сказать, и удивился. Что я имею в виду? У нас есть Сергей Борисович Переслегин, а раньше еще был Ютанов, который, к сожалению, уже умер, да? Которые потратили там, не знаю, лет 20 на то, чтобы вот по этой теме высказываться, собирать семинары и так далее. Я что-то не увидел ни одной вообще заметки даже с их фамилиями. Даже в качестве заметки, не то чтобы там книгу показали. Это как бы, ну так, просто в качестве ремарки. И второй момент. У нас есть китайские участники, а у них есть известный фантаст, который написал целых 3 книги, называется «Задача 3 тел». Там 3 книги, на самом деле. Эти 3 книги вошли ли в ваш обзор, и какие технологии вы из них вытащили? Особенно мне очень интересно посмотреть, как вы political step в них, как назвать, прозондировали, да, идентифицировали. То есть по разделу вот political и social, что вы поставили для этой книги конкретно?
Смотрите, да, конечно же, у нас есть книги «Загадка 3 тел» и другие книги в нашей базе. Да, соответственно, вот прямо сейчас я могу вспомнить про то, что у нас изучена технология, которая, этот вот красный радар, или как она называется, да, про то, что Солнце используется для того, чтобы усиливать сигнал, который передается в другие миры. И, конечно же, мы не можем оценить эту технологию, да, с точки зрения того, насколько она фантастическая или спекулятивная, но в любом случае мы ее записали, потому что автор предложил, да, мир, в котором существует вот такая вот технология, да, это вот пример технологии, с которой он работает. Соответственно, если говорить про то, как эта книга была описана как социальная или политическая, да, я вот сейчас не могу быстро вспомнить, да, соответственно, если говорить, но я могу предположить, да, что, ну, наверное, можно показать о том, как использование вот такой вот технологии может усиливать какую-то разобщенность в нашем обществе, но это, вот, знаете, чисто моя гипотеза, да, с опорой на то, как я помню, когда я читала
Олеся, вы
книгу.
можете сделать слайд специально для китайской аудитории с анализом их литературного произведения, чтобы им тоже было интересно.
Слушайте,
Кстати, забавный факт,
конечно.
когда самих Natural Chinese спрашиваешь, как бы читали ли они эту книгу, они говорят, что нет. Так что
Слушайте, ну
книга известна
прекрасная
нам, но
книга,
не очень
сериал
известна им.
недавно вышел. Я думаю, что, конечно, мы не могли обойтись. Ну и тем более у нас 15 стран, книги авторов из 15 стран уже представлены. Конечно же, мы стремимся к тому, чтобы были произведения максимально разнообразной географии. Ну и да, конечно же, мы работали с текстами на русском и на английском, и, соответственно, когда мы говорим про задачу 3 тел, то мы работали с ее английским переводом.
Понятно.
Да, ваш комментарий про
Ну,
Переслегина.
это как бы просто
Слушайте, я вам
комментарий, просто,
скажу,
может быть, можно его пригласить
слушайте,
в следующий раз.
знаем, да, он как раз в следующий понедельник выступает, участвует в научно-фантастическом симпозиуме. Я просто хочу
Так,
сказать, что
вы там тоже будете на этом симпозиуме фантастическом?
я буду в качестве
Ну,
гостя.
этот, как это называется, господи, будущее что-то там, в общем. Россия,
Да-да-да-да-да.
будущее, что-то там. Так, понятно,
Да-да-да-да.
спасибо.
Я
Встретимся.
просто еще скажу, что на самом деле большое количество людей уже работало с этой темой. Да? Вот у нас вот есть еще 3 докладчика, но я бы еще отметила Генриха Альтшулера, который
Да-да-да,
несколько
у которого
десятилетий
есть.
назад с этим работал. Да? И, конечно же, в целом даже вот в интернете Technology, или как-то так называется, сервис, в котором тоже много интересной информации. То есть, конечно же, в нашей работе мы опираемся на опыт гигантского количества людей, которые до этого тоже предпринимали попытки исследований в области научной фантастики, но еще многое, что можно сделать в этой сфере.
И еще одна ремарка, наверное. Я посмотрел вашу методологию, как бы хорошо, понятно, откуда вы ее взяли, понятно, как вы ее использовали. А пробовали ли вы зайти немножко с другой стороны? Вот, нейросети позволяют нам классифицировать разными способами. Ну, как бы специалисты просто знают много методов, как бы самый известный K-means для, так сказать, студентов, да, чтобы знали, как кластеризация происходит. Пробовали ли вы сюжеты книг, именно сюжеты, то есть не технологии, именно сюжеты, каким-то образом классифицировать и посмотреть, а есть ли вообще появление новых сюжетов? То есть вот все сюжеты собираются, ну, условно, в 3 большие группы, утопия, антиутопия посередине, да, как из литературоведения, если взять данные. А есть ли новые сюжеты, которые бы не укладывались как бы в предыдущие группы?
Смотрите, да, я могу кратко показать один из слайдов, да, чтобы можно было вспомнить. В целом, то, о чем вы говорите, да, это вот этот вот слайд, да, мы сейчас на основе вот этого мы еще не сформировали какие-то конкретные кластеры, мы еще не сформировали какие-то конкретные сценарии. Но это наша первая попытка посмотреть на темы, которые были представлены в тех книгах, с которыми мы поработали. Соответственно, мы видим, что это самые частые темы, которые встречаются. Да, то есть в целом мы видим, что к 2020 годам у нас темы все... То есть если в 90-х было очень конкретно было понятно, что вот это экологический фактор, а это экономический, то к 2020-му они все больше и сильнее пересекаются между собой, да, потому что мы видим, что теперь это не просто про политику, это то, как политика влияет на технологии, да, и как политика использует технологии, какие могут быть геополитические стратегии, да, с использованием различных технологий. Я бы сказала, что именно с точки зрения тематик мы видим усложнение, да, и все больше и больше взаимосвязей между разными темами, да, если говорить про вот какие-то новые темы, ну, пожалуй, чего-то прям кардинально нового нет, но есть усложнение и больше взаимосвязей между разными темами.
Okay.
Спасибо.
Okay, thank you very much for your questions. We are a little bit out of time. I just wanted to make to say one thing. We are mostly engaged in science, technology, and innovation foresight, STI foresight, and this study was aimed on extraction of new events which might happen in the future, not only of science and technology nature, of political nature, of values or whatever, but still we are aiming at science technology, at using these events of the future in science technology foresight mostly. This is our key area of interest. Of course, so we don't want to discuss some abstract things. how the society of the future might be organized. We would like to use concrete events for concrete projects in the future. This is why probably we are less abstract in our studies. And you mentioned some names like Foresight. We use a little different approach here. This is why probably we didn't pay very much attention to this. Of course, we analyze everything we can. Okay, I will stop at this point, and we'll give the floor to the next speaker, who is Thomas Lombardo from the Center for Future Consciousness from the United States. The topic is the value of science fiction in the heightening of our consciousness of the future. So the floor is yours, Tom, please.
Can you see my screen? It should be blank, correct? Can you see my screen?
It's
Okay, yeah.
yes, we see it's not fully black, it's half.
Yes, we see.
Yes, good. Okay, thank you. Good morning or good afternoon or good evening. This is a presentation of the Center for Future Consciousness, and I'm Tom Lombardo, the director of the Center for Future Consciousness. And I should just mention that our mission is to advance the purposeful evolution of humanity through the heightening of future consciousness and wisdom and the inspirational, mythic, and cosmic power of science fiction. And the title of the presentation today is The Value of Science Fiction in Heightening Our Consciousness of the Future. And here's a brief overview or outline of what I'm going to be talking about. First, I'm going to be providing a definition of future consciousness, and then highlighting a few important things about the history and multifaceted nature of future consciousness or consciousness of the future. Then I'm going to introduce a definition of science fiction, and then discuss the narrative form, the impact, and the value of science fiction in the heightening or enhancement of our consciousness of the future or future consciousness. Now, the place to begin is with giving a definition of future consciousness. And I have up there an image of my book on future consciousness, The Path to Purposeful Evolution. So what I'm going to say briefly today is expanded on in a lot more depth in that book. I define future consciousness, which everyone possesses, as the total integrative set of all the psychological processes and modes of experience and behavior involved in our consciousness of the future. It encompasses our hopes and fears and desires about the future, our plans and goals, our visions of the future, the theories and stories we have developed about the future, and our purposeful behaviors to realize our future goals and our future visions. Future consciousness includes our awareness, our feelings, our understanding, and our engagement with the future. In fact, as I argue in several publications, future consciousness is responsible for all of the major developments and advances in human civilization. It is our most distinctive and empowering capacity within our conscious human mind. And I should note that even though animals, to various degrees, especially mammals, show levels of future consciousness, humans far exceed in their scope and capacity the ability to be conscious of the future. Now, there's a history and a multifaceted nature to our future consciousness. And two books, other books I have up there, which trace the evolution of future consciousness from prehistoric times up through the present. The Evolution of Future Consciousness and Contemporary Futurist Thought are up there on the screen. Future consciousness has primordial origins in the development psychologically in our ancestors in being able to set goals, engage in planned, thoughtful hunting, and purposeful behavior in the development of our tools and technologies, which require a capacity to think ahead and to do things in order to achieve goals in the future. Our future-oriented social bonding and agriculture and urbanization are both products of abilities to set goals, to plan, to orchestrate out our actions, and in the development, in this case, of agriculture and urbanization. And we find early on pictographic narratives or histories or stories that humans developed about both our past and both about the immediate future. When we find it occurring in recorded form, we find mythic and religious narratives developing about the future, which in early ancient minds had a credibility to them and referred to something beyond the immediate here and now. But we get more into modern times, we find philosophical, secular, and scientific theories of the future developing, in particular the theory of progress and the theory of evolution. But in the 19th century, we also see the development of narrative forms of future consciousness, which is science fiction, where stories are told about the future as opposed to simply developing theories about the future. And science fiction became the new credible transcendent, which replaced our earlier scientifically uninformed myths. We also see in the 20th century the development of future studies. And future studies comes in many, many different forms or many, many different approaches to it. But that's part of the overall gestalt of future consciousness in humans as it evolved into the 20th and 21st century. And there are many different contemporary paradigms on the future, many different theories, many different approaches to it. But again, all of this is encompassed underneath the general concept of future consciousness. We have been evolving our future consciousness. It has developed over thousands of years. We've articulated in terms of scientific principles, in terms of methodologies. We use stories. We use different types of approaches to trying to understand, control, guide, direct, foresee the future. These are all manifestations in contemporary times of capabilities that go back to ancient times and capabilities that in fact manifest themselves in all humans to different degrees when they plan out and think about and attempt to foresee the future. Now, where does science fiction fit into this? As I've already mentioned, science fiction is a narrative approach to the future. Now, here's my present definition of what science fiction is. Science fiction is multimedia. It is not just simply literature. It comes up in film. It comes up in gaming. It comes up in comics. It comes up in many different forms. And it's an immense global community. Science fiction is a social reality that we find in countries with writers and fans and conventions across the globe. It is a narrative or story-centered approach that is primarily, although not exclusively, about the future. Science fiction gets into alternate realities, for example. Science fiction involves dramatic plots, imaginative, detailed settings and scenarios, thought experiments on the future, and varied, unique characters, human and otherwise, because science fiction, of course, contains lots of aliens, and it contains lots of types of artificial intelligence, including robots. It has mythic origins running all the way back to ancient myths, but it is to a significant degree inspired and informed by modern science, technology, and contemporary thought. That's what gives it credibility, or contemporary credibility. Contrary to the limiting stereotypes we have of science fiction has always been about the future of everything. It is not simply about the future of science and technologies. It is about the future of society, about the future of the human mind, about the future of ethics and religion. The term science fiction was popularized by Hugo Gernsback in the 1920s, and he wanted to emphasize technology and science. But back to H.G. Wells and Jules Verne, there's always been a lot more in science fiction than simply science and technology. And I would describe science fiction actually as our new contemporary evolutionary mythology of the future, in that it is stories that are fantastical, inspiring, and give us a sense of a meaning with respect to what's going to happen in the future, created by many, many different writers. Now, what's significant about science fiction, socially and psychologically, is that it is stories, it is narratives. Humans, psychologically and socially, strongly resonate with the narrative form of expression and thinking. Stories provide people with personal and social identity, meaning, value, purpose, and emotionally, motivationally engaging experiences, much more so than abstract scientific theories or political ideologies. Through science fiction stories of the future, we are able to vicariously live and feel the future because we become immersed in the story, in the narrative. The narrative is the most powerful and effective psychologically and socially mode of communication for representing reality and talking about the main themes of the human condition. Although science fiction does make predictions about the future, and it does imagine multiple and varied future possibilities, because there's many, many different kinds of science fiction writers, its central strength is that through its narratives and other numerous forms of multimedia expression, science fiction speaks to the whole person. It speaks to our thinking, our emotion, our imagination, our perceptions, and our values. It stimulates and enhances all the psychological dimensions of human consciousness about the future. That is, it generates holistic future consciousness, psychologically holistic future consciousness. Because science fiction psychologically and socially engages the whole person, all the dimensions of the human mind, it is the most visible, popular, and influential contemporary form of futurist thinking and imagination in the modern world. If one compares the number of individuals who are aware of science fiction visions of the future with people who are aware of non-narrative visions of the future, science fiction swamps everybody else's thinking. The number of people who attend conventions about science fiction is vastly more than the number of people who attend futurist conventions. And as such, through its ongoing historical evolution and impact on humanity, which it has had for well over a decade, if not longer, science fiction purposefully facilitates the evolution of holistic future consciousness and the evolution of humanity. And what I mean by that is through science fiction stories and films and other science fiction approaches, it facilitates us thinking and being conscious of the future and different scenarios of the future, and it consequently facilitates the evolution of humanity in that humanity is guiding itself into the future via its future consciousness, its collective future consciousness. And I have two quotes up here from two science fiction writers, one a bit older, one a bit more recent. Science fiction is escape into reality. It's a fiction which concerns itself with real issues, the origin of man, our future. In fact, I can't think of any form of literature which is more concerned with real issues and reality. Arthur C. Clarke. And the second quote is more recent. We're in a science fiction novel as a culture. Science fiction is the realism of our time. And that's Kim Stanley Robinson. And a good illustration of what Robinson is getting at there is his recent novel, The Ministry of the Future, which is a highly realistic and very relevant fictional treatment of a whole set of contemporary human problems and how they can be addressed. Now, when I say that science fiction stimulates holistic future consciousness, there's many, many different dimensions of holistic future consciousness in science fiction, and a picture is sometimes worth more than 1,000 words. The words are science fiction covers literature, comics, graphic novels, cinema, TV, radio, social communities. There's a great commercialization of science fiction. There's science fiction artifacts and collectibles. There's science fiction art and music, clothing and jewelry, iconics, characters. There's a shared history. There's scholarship, video gaming, websites, conventions, and awards. And this is just sort of a collage of different features of science fiction that cover all these different dimensions of holistic future consciousness. And science fiction is very participatory. People go to conventions, they dress up in science fiction outfits, they have a whole a range of subcultures from Star Trek to Star Wars that individuals get very involved in. There's awards given out. There's a Science Fiction Hall of Fame. And there's, of course, hundreds, if not thousands, of classic novels in science fiction and hundreds, if not thousands, of science fiction movies. And just to illustrate my own participation in the whole thing, is here I am standing in my science fiction room. In my house, I have a science fiction room, which is my science fiction book collection, science fiction art, and science fiction collectibles. And I know people who have even bigger collections of art and books than I do, but I still have quite a few. So it's something one can, with one's whole person, participate in, from the perceptual to the intellectual and imaginative. And I wanted to put up a few references here if you want to explore this topic in more depth. I have a series on YouTube, a comprehensive history of science fiction. It's about 60 hours of videos, and it's on my YouTube channel, The Evolution of Science Fiction. And I should just mention it in a brief there that Jean-Paul put up a great assortment of science fiction novels and films that is a really good resource or starting point for a lot of the interested in classical, especially more modern material. He did mention, of course, We by Zimiatin, and I would reinforce the value of looking at We, because We is a socially and psychologically and philosophically very astute novel that deals with technology and science, but also deals with society and human psychology. So first off, there's the YouTube videos, The History of Science Fiction, which is extremely immense when it gets into looking at how much science fiction has been generated over the last 150 years. Here's a number of my books on future consciousness on the left-hand side, and I'm doing a history of science fiction, which is on the right-hand side. I've done 3 volumes on that. All of these books are available on my website. And for some individual and more compact resources, I have a 2-part science fiction futures, historical foundation because contemporary developments in science fiction. That's up on my website, but it's also just been published in the Handbook of Future Studies. In Compass Magazine, there's a must-read science fiction books and authors for futurists. There's one video that's about 2 hours in length, which is an accelerated comprehensive history of science fiction from ancient times. And by the way, I should mention, science fiction goes back to the ancients. The first science fiction stories were written 2,000 years ago. And that, you can watch the video. The link is up there as well. And so that's the end. That's my conclusion of my presentation. And I should thank Terry Spataro, who is my graphics individual, who did all of these fantastical graphics for the presentation. Now, all I got to do is stop sharing.
Okay, thank you so much. It was excellent, I must say. I just wanted to show you. Do you see?
Thank you.
I have a book in my library, and probably
Yes.
we are out of time fully. So maybe just one question by Olesya, probably. She asked in the chat, what science fiction works you consider to be the most influential on future consciousness?
Okay. The authors that I would identify, and there's several books by each of these that I think have been the most influential on future consciousness, would include some of the key works of H.G. Wells. For example, The Shape of Things to Come and The Time Machine. Some of the works of Olaf Stapleton, including Last and First Men. The great dystopian novels, including We by Zimiatin, as well as Brave New World in 1984. More recently, I would include the work of Robert Heinlein and Isaac Asimov. Isaac Asimov's writings on robots and the ethics of robots in I, Robot has had a big impact. Jules Verne, of course, inspired lots of people to get into space travel and technological development. And cyberpunk science fiction with William Gibson and Neil Stephenson has had a big impact on contemporary future consciousness. And I can go on, but those are some. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I guess we need to go to the last speaker of today.
Yes,
Otherwise,
okay.
we'll be out of time. I would like to show you one more book. Do you see the book?
Yeah.
This is the book authored by our next speaker.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yes.
So the floor is yours. Our next speaker is Jose Cordeiro. He's from Millennium Project Note, Venezuela, but he is the citizen of the world, I would say, because he, I don't know how many countries he visited, but I guess more than 100 definitely. So today's presentation will be about Sir Arthur Clarke and the final Odyssey. So the floor is yours, Jose. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you.
I would like to ask you to be limited by 15 minutes, not more, okay? Otherwise, our interpreters will overwork. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you also for the invitation. And I actually want to tell you I'll be next week in Moscow for the International Science Fiction Symposium. So I hope to see many of you, at least Alexander Sokolov and Alexander Chulok, I know are in the program as well. And I will be talking about the death of death. I am an engineer from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and I became an engineer because I was inspired by science fiction. And now I work with the Millennium Project. We look into the future, the global challenges, and we publish reports, some of which might look like science fiction in the year 2050. In fact, we have scenarios, good scenarios and bad scenarios. And we just produced our latest report, the State of the Future 20.0, that we presented at the first United Nations Summit of the Future in New York. This was a big event, and we are happy to be collaborating with them and also writing scenarios about the future of artificial general intelligence. 15 years ago, I was one of the founding faculty of Singularity University, where we talk about the future and the singularity that many people still think it's science fiction, but I think it is science real and getting closer and closer. As Ray Kurzweil has written in his latest book, The Singularity is Nearer, that just came out a few months ago, and he ratifies that by 2045, we will reach the technological singularity. Ray Kurzweil has also written science fiction, or maybe fantasy, how the future will be. It's a mix of fantasy and science fiction with his ideas about the future. But again, our magic date is 2045. As you can see in the cover of Time magazine, 2045, the year man becomes immortal. So we believe we will reach immortality and the singularity by 2045, and some people think this is science fiction still. In fact, in 2045 happens this movie, Ready Player One, which was produced by Steven Spielberg, but this is a dystopian future. Many science fiction books and movies and other productions are dystopian, and this is kind of dystopian. And it is game over for humans. In many of these science fiction, it is the end, game over. I am more optimistic. I think the game is just beginning. With the singularity, by the year 2045, we will have incredible capabilities. We will have not only immortality, but also we will have unlimited intelligence, super intelligence, the singularity. Actually, I have written about that in my global bestseller in the 3 most important languages of the world, the Spanish, English, and Chinese. But I'm also very happy that it is in Russian in 2 different editions. The Death of Death, or as the Russian prefer to call it, Death Must Die. Death Must Die. I like the name in Russian, actually. And it is now in 15 languages and coming in more languages. And again, I'll be happy to present this in Moscow next week. Because this is not science fiction anymore. The Nobel Prize in Medicine in 2012 discovered that immortality is real and that we can rejuvenate. So I plan to be younger in the future, not through the Russian app, Face app. I plan to be younger through biological rejuvenation. And I got interested in all of this through science fiction. First, Jules Verne, who was a genius at the end of the 19th century, and then just a few years later, H.G. Wells. Both inspired me to see what was coming in the future. Another one, more recent, Sir Arthur C. Clarke. I actually had the pleasure to visit him and to write an interview just before he died. And he wrote, as we know, Space Odyssey 2001, that has had many versions and also movies. But also there are 4 books in this series, Space Odyssey 2001, 2010, 2061, and the final one, 3001. We still have some time to go for that one. The ideas of Sir Arthur C. Clarke have been incredible, like the space elevators. And he's probably the only person in the world who has a dinosaur and a star named after him. But it is quite interesting, his views of the future. And so I visited him before he died, because I was also interested in the 3 laws of the future. I think this is one of the greatest achievements to think about the future and to put it into laws. He was a very good friend of Isaac Asimov, and because Isaac Asimov had 3 laws, he decided to have also 3 laws of the future. First law, when a distinguished but old scientist says that something is possible, he's probably right. But when he says it is impossible, he's probably wrong. Second law of the future, the only way of discovering the limits of the possible is to venture past those limits into the impossible. And third law of the future, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So basically, Sir Arthur C. Clarke was talking about magic, that we would see magic in the future. In this planet and beyond, so much has been written about Mars and other planets. Movies like Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger, that has also different Hollywood versions that have inspired people like Elon Musk as well. Elon Musk plans to go to Mars, and he is actually rushing to have his Mars rockets moving to create a Mars colony, the first colony of humans on Mars, and start terraforming Mars. This is fascinating because then the first Martians will be humans. We will be the first Martians, humans going from Earth to Mars. I am fascinated by Mars and by science fiction, and so I actually did training to go to Mars. There is an interplanetary agency in Spain to train astronauts to go to Mars. It is called Astroland. I was part of the first generation of Spanish astronauts to go to Mars. So I am ready to go to Mars and beyond. The problem about going beyond is that we need cryonics. Cryonics also came from the world of science fiction, freezing people. But in Russia now, there are 2 cryonic centers. So I had the pleasure also to visit the cryonics facilities in Russia that were inspired by science fiction. So we will go to infinity and beyond with all these technologies. The visionary Konstantin Tsiolkovsky, he said, the earth is the cradle of humanity, but we cannot live forever in a cradle. He also said that what was impossible yesterday will be possible tomorrow, which I like to say, the science fiction of yesterday is the science reality of tomorrow. This also applies to artificial intelligence and to expanding our capabilities because we have limited brains. But now people like Elon Musk, also inspired by science fiction, is talking about creating an exocortex that will give us super intelligence. And we will connect this exocortex to our brain. And we will have artificial super intelligence connected directly to our brain. And the robots are incredible. I brought robot Sophia, the most sophisticated humanoid robot, to Spain. And she read my book in 1 second. I wish I could read books in 1 second. But 1 second to read it in Spanish, 1 second to read it in Russian, 1 second to read it in Chinese. Incredible. I wish I could do that in any language. And robots are advancing very fast. Look at this series of robots. And they will have incredible capabilities, incredible movements, more than humans. And they will also have feelings. At MIT, in the media lab, in my alma mater, they are beginning to understand the feelings of robots. And robots will be fantastic, incredible. So you will have your fantastic robots at night. In fact, with one advantage, they will not get tired at night. They will not get tired at night. But we think robots are bad. We have this Terminator idea in the West because the word robot comes from Czech. And in Czech, it means slave labor. So for us in the West, including Russia, robots are bad. Even female robots are bad. Even when they have robot sex, they are bad. However, are robots good? or bad. It depends on where you are. If you are in East Asia, if you are in Japan, in Korea, or in China, robots are actually good. They are bad in the West, but they are good in East Asia. But this is not humans or robots. This is humans and machines combined, a new civilization inspired on what we learned in science fiction. And Isaac Asimov in 1940 wrote the 3 laws of robotics that are fundamental to understand these ideas of robotics, just like the 3 laws of the future of Sir Arthur C. Clarke. And my professor at MIT, Marvin Minsky, one of the fathers of artificial intelligence, said that robots will inherit the earth, but they will be us. We will be them. We will merge with the robots. All of this is called transhumanism, also based in a way in science fiction ideas. Evolution continues, but we have to do it carefully, because evolution continues. Humans have existed only about 200,000 years in this shape and form, and we are still evolving. These ideas were also talked about in Russia. I love Russian cosmism, which is also similar to transhumanism and to see the human evolution. So just to be finishing up, we need to meditate about the future, and science fiction can give us ideas even about meditation. And we have to think about yin and yang. This is so complex that yin yang has also little yin yang, and little yin yang has little yin yang. This is very complex. But as the Chinese say, we need to illuminate the world. We need to light up candles. We don't need to blame darkness. We need to illuminate the future. And I finish with this beautiful Chinese word that means crisis. Crisis in Chinese has 2 characters. The first character means danger. But the second character means opportunity. We are living in great danger, but in the biggest opportunity that humanity has ever seen. So read Death Must Die in Russian, and hope to see you next week in Moscow for the Science Fiction Symposium. Thank you. Live long and prosper.
Okay, thank you so much. It was great as always, Jose. Okay, good. I guess we are out of time, but probably one question. Who would like to ask?
I'll make a comment.
Yes, please.
Okay, here's my comment. As I mentioned, science fiction isn't just about science and technology. Science fiction is about all aspects of human reality. And something I find that in futurist thinking, we need to pay more attention to, and this includes transhumanist human thinking, is we have to look at how we are in need of evolving psychologically and ethically. It's not enough for us to simply live longer or be smarter. We have to become better human beings. And this is something that needs to be highlighted and emphasized more. I noticed on the presentation by, I forgot her name, which was very good. I'm sorry, I forgot your name up there.
Olesya.
Yeah, okay. But there were a number of categories she looked at in terms of science fiction and its significance. But there was nothing up there about the psychological. And that's a dimension, a key dimension of human reality, so that if we are to use science fiction to enlighten us, empower us, illuminate the future for us, we got to look at what science fiction writers and of course, futurists in general have to say about how one evolves character, wisdom, to go along with the advances that we will make in biotechnology and robotics. I should mention, and Jose, it's great to see you again. And Jose put up his 3 laws of Asimov's 3 laws of robotics. Asimov, who was from the West, in iRobot series, where that 3 laws developed, he saw robots as actually ethically superior to humans. And so obviously, even though he was from the West, his vision of artificial intelligence and robotics, and it's something for us to think about with humanity and merging with robots, we need to be ethically superior and more psychologically evolved than we are right now. And gadgets in and of themselves aren't going to do it. That's part of it, but it isn't going to do it entirely. That's my comment.
Okay, thank you so much. Maybe to finish with, yes, please, Sergey, very short, okay? Очень коротко, если можно. Мы...
Так, спасибо, да. 10 секунд. Спасибо, да, было очень интересно. Меня зовут Ревин Сергей, российский космонавт. Работал на Международной космической станции. Хочу сказать, что у меня каждый год больше 100 встреч со школьниками, студентами, подростковый возраст. Знаете, и, к сожалению, мало кто хочет быть космонавтом. И мне кажется, вот, да, вспоминая свое время в Советском Союзе, мы все читали фантастику, и все мечтали стать космонавтом. А сейчас ребята не увлекаются фантастикой, и я думаю, как раз вот миссия многих из нас как раз говорить о том, чтобы ребята читали и увлекались фантастикой, читали книги фантастические. Спасибо вам.
Okay. Спасибо, спасибо.
Okay.
Еще один... excuse me.
Yeah, I just want to make 2 quick comments. First to Tom. Obviously, there is no time, in 15 minutes to talk about everything, but I am a transhumanist, and transhumanists, we believe in super longevity, super intelligence, and super well-being. So what you were talking about, that is in the 3rd branch of super well-being. And to Yaroslav, I totally agree. We need to inspire the new generations, but I think this is happening. There is a new space race. People are going to go to Mars. Elon Musk says it openly, and the Chinese are getting into the game, and the Emiratis, and the Israelis, and the Japanese, and of course, the Russians. So I think there will be a new space race.
Okay, thank you very much. So Alev, mine, I don't know how to pronounce. Very short, please.
Yes, I just want to caution against using principles that are defined in fiction, because as a former fiction writer, I know that one designs the situation in a way that it fails. So that's one thing quickly that I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for your comment. Okay, my last comment, if you allow, yeah. I must tell you that we do a lot of science technology foresight studies, and we never do it technology push style, and this is very important. So we do it mostly market pull and something like this. But the science fiction shows us that it's not just new markets, not just new I don't know, new products, whatever. It gives you a holistic picture when you see very different sides of human nature and for society and psychology, values, whatever, how the society is organized. And what I like very much in science fiction, that it was mentioned today, that it gives you a holistic picture, and you can imagine not just individual technology, whatever, or individual market, whatever, but you see the whole life on the earth, and this give you a fully different dimension. This is what I like very much, and I hope we'll be able to do something useful for our foresight study from this small scale project we launched this year, which Olesya reported today. So at this point, I would like to thank everybody. It was a great session. I liked very much, enjoyed it very much. And please, so I hope we'll repeat it in the future, maybe next year. I look forward very much to see you in Moscow, Jose. I would like to hug you, yeah, my friend. So at this point, I would like to finish. I would like to thank to give us thanks to translators who did a great job today. And it was a great day, and the last session was extremely great. Thank you so much, and see you somewhere in the future. Okay.
Live long and prosper.
Yeah. Bye bye. Bye bye.